Well, hello there, everybody. Blair Nightingale here coming at you. This is our Market Mondays. Let's see. We are just a few minutes past the hour tonight, so I apologize for those of you who are joining us at 6. We start at 6 normally. I just had to make sure to get a couple things in place so you could see me properly tonight. But we are here. We are ready to roll, and I can see people joining in on the class. If you are here live tonight, welcome. Go ahead, pop your name in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, any questions you might have. I go over that every week. Of course, we want to make sure that we are asking questions. This is a great opportunity for us to go back and forth. So I highly encourage you to do that. If you are joining us by recording, the majority of you will join us on recording. You can always pop your questions in regardless on Facebook, on YouTube. I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. Of course, if you've been joining us for a little while now, you know Mr. Jeffrey is always going to jump on here and let us know how it is in Colorado. And you know what I've noticed, Jeffrey? It's never the same. It's never the same in Colorado. So happy to have you on here, of course, and 43 degrees. Starting to get hotter out here in Texas. I'll tell you what, Anthony says Fort Worth, Texas. Starting to get a little hotter, right? A little warmer today there, Anthony. For me anyway, maybe not for you veteran Texans, but definitely starting to get there. So welcome tonight. I'm so glad to have you guys here. As always, we'll continue to see some people pop their names into the chat there, letting us know who they are, where they're from. But I'm ready to go ahead and start up tonight. Very important topic. Yep, 90 degrees today. Very important topic, how to fit trading into your busy schedule. I don't meet a lot of people who are saying, I don't have a busy schedule, right? I don't meet a lot of people who say that. Most people are saying, I have a really busy schedule. I got a lot going on. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to talk about this more in a minute, but here's the thing. You know, you're here for a reason, right? You're in this class for a reason. You've been joining us for Market Mondays. You're intrigued, interested, connected to Tradeway in some way. Right now, we have people on here that are in the programs. Maybe this is your first time ever coming and hearing anything from Tradeway. Okay, so we've got a whole spectrum of people, but you're here for a reason. There is something in your life. This isn't about money, is it? Right? It's not really about money. It's never really about money. It's about something in our life that we are trying to achieve, something we are trying to avoid, right? We maybe have some debt that we are trying to get rid of. We are maybe trying to get it. We have got expenses. We've got things we want to sow into. We want to build. We want to expand. Retirement. I mean, I could just go on and on and on, right? You can fill in the blank, but tonight you're here for a reason. And those reasons are not to be ignored, right? There are solutions for the financial questions that we have. Again, whether or not we're looking to expand or we're trying to solve a problem that we have, there is an opportunity to explore that here in trading. And of course, that's what I want to show you. So why do I start like this tonight? Well, I say that because, you know, there's a phrase that goes around called the tyranny of the urgent, right? It's just like whatever's next, that's what's got to get the attention. And some of the deeper work that we can do, some of the deeper changes we want to see can be stolen in a sense from us because we don't actually slow down long enough to say, I need to do something different. Well, I am so encouraged tonight because I know that if you're watching this, that's not you. You've already made that shift, right? You've made that shift. But as you make that shift, you realize, well, there is still a lot of demand. My life is busy. And tonight's session is specifically to those who are in that boat, which, as I said already, is most of us, right? You are busy. I want to give you some simple, what I'm going to call simple hacks. Okay. I'm going to give you some simple hacks on how to fit trading into a busy life. Now, some of these you maybe never heard of before. Okay. Some of these are probably just unexpected. Okay. So I'm going to go through them in just a moment here. This is going to be how to fit trading into your busy life. So just go ahead and take a minute and just grab a pen, a pad. If you're a note taker like that, maybe you just want to type it in on your phone, put it in on your laptop, wherever you're joining us tonight. Make sure you take these down. These can help you. And I've had to use all of these before in the past, okay? And certainly have to use some of them now more than ever, to be honest, for sure, because life is full. Life is full. And sometimes I like to switch the language a little bit. It's not just busy. Busy is almost like I'm being driven by the wind, right? It's like a slave driving. I'm just busy. The other side of that is life is full. I want to move towards life being full. Some of us are saying, no, it's just busy, Blair. It feels like I am being driven, right? I'm not in the job I want to be in. I'm not in the state I want to be in. I'm not sewing the way I want to be sewing. All these different things. Well, tonight the session is for you. So let's look at how to fit trading into our busy schedule. And of course, I'll continue to check back into our comments if we have any thoughts or comments there that I can address. I love doing that as well. So number one, very simple. Very simple. Use the tools of the trade, right? We're learning to trade, but I like to say that we are learning a trade. Okay, learning to trade stocks is a trade. Okay, it's not gambling. It's not guessing. It's not just somewhere we go and throw money and hope it happens, right? We have a real skill set that we have to utilize, and that is the trade of trading. But the trade has tools, right? We have specific tools that really can help us in this area in particular. I'm going to give you just a couple of them tonight. So the first one is scans, okay? And I say this first because we've actually done an entire episode on scans before. We did a Stock Talk Thursday where we specifically looked at our charting software and how scanning through thousands of stocks. Who has time to look through thousands of stocks, right? Scanning actually cuts that time down. We go into that in the episode. So I won't cover that here, but we do have that cataloged for you. If you head to YouTube and go back to our Stock Talk Thursday where we look at scans, you can see that. But that is a very helpful tool when you're at the place, right? You're at the point in the journey where you are looking for patterns and you understand several of the major patterns, how to identify them. And then once you identify them, how does that begin to be something you can look to trade? Well, I can use a scan to find the patterns. I can use a scan to really narrow down, cut out some of the noise that's in the chart with thousands and thousands of charts, right? I can go into my watch lists, which we provide for you in our programs. We give you watch lists of companies that we have gone through and vetted. And then you can even go through that list and use a scan to narrow it down even further, right? So that is a very helpful thing. Next up is we've got alarms, okay? Whether you use an Android or you're using an iPhone, okay? Those are the major ones, right? I know not everybody has one of those, but almost everybody has one of those, right? And I'd recommend getting one, even if it's an older one, right? You can get an iPhone or an Android. A lot of the Androids now too, you can, you sign up with a specific carrier and you're getting a free one. And so however we want to do that, it would be specifically for one of those two manufacturers. You could use alarms, okay? Alarms. So stock alarms on a simple app, let's say on the iPhone, real-time stock tracker. Okay, that is an example of an app that you can look up, real-time stock tracker. You could pull that up and it actually has the ability to set an alarm. So you could say, in fact, I set alarms last night. Okay, I have a reminder in my phone that for 10 minutes every night, I'm going to go in, I go to the market, I know what I'm looking for, okay? Now, I could spend more than 10 minutes, but specifically what I'm looking for right now, I just need a little bit of time. I go to the markets and I will set the alarm, at a specific price. Now I'm just going to make this price up, but imagine we're looking for ABC stock to drop to $25.61. Okay. I can set the alarm. It drops to $25.61. Let's say the next day I get an alarm. Now I'm going about my day. I can't be sitting and just watching the market the whole time. So I have an alarm. The alarm goes off and I'm able to go, oh, okay, boom. I can go in and I can then take action on that trade. But I've actually used that alarm to let me know what's happening without having to spend a bunch of time watching it, which is time that I may need to spend on other things. Or I may even be in a job where I just can't do that. Now, maybe I can take a break, right? But I don't want to take a break when it's not useful. I want to take it when it's most useful. So I can use those alarms, okay? The next one up is automatic orders, okay? This is another one where when we get into our brokerage account, we can actually set up automatic orders. So they will actually do the buying and selling automatically for us, okay? So that's pretty neat too. We got to learn how to use them, but you can actually set it similar to what I just described with the alarm, where you can actually set it and then it'll come in and buy when you need it to buy, sell when you need it to sell. Now, again, we want to train you and show you how to specifically use those, but it's helpful to know that as I am going about my day, perhaps I am already working by the time the market is open, or I'm going to be busy later in the day and I don't want the position, right, the trade that I'm in to be vulnerable, right, to volatility or something I don't want to happen. So I have an automatic order set that can get me out of the trade and get me into the trade as well. If I'm not already in it, I don't want to miss that opportunity. Okay. Now, Jeffrey's saying in here, I had a lot of trouble with real-time stock tracker. Never did get it working, but I do other alarms through TC2000, Tastyworks, and Yahoo Finance. So it's perfect. That's a perfect feedback. TC2000, Tastyworks, and Yahoo Finance, all and more, right? You can use other ones. I actually do use real-time stock tracker. Now, I will say this, because I mentioned the name, there are two versions of real-time stock tracker, okay? There's a free version, and then there's a pay version. I believe the pay version, at least it was around 13, 14 bucks, okay? And it has unlimited alarms. The free version I've never used, and I don't know what features it does or does not have. Okay, so I say that to let you know. You may want to go for the pay version there, or if you're using one of those services that Jeffrey mentioned there as well, I'll pop it up on the screen just for a second. Of course, you can go over and you could use those. You may have a broker that's different, so you could also set an alarm right there in your other broker if you're using something separate than that. And set alarms. But using alarms is the point, okay? Using alarms is the point. So I just want to say here, Veronica, Missouri, we have not had, Veronica, I think you're the first one we've had from Missouri this whole time. Dylan, I see you there. Veronica, Anthony, all over the country today. So that's the first one. So use the tools of the trade, okay? Use the tools of the trade. Number two, learn about time compression, okay? Time compression. This is something we could all learn from, okay? What is time compression? Well, let me say this. People say, we all have said this, right? I think if I'm honest, I've said this. I've said this a lot. I don't have time, right? I don't have time. But like we already talked about a little bit, right? We don't have time to waste time. That's what we don't have time. But we also don't have time to allow things in our lives that are not moving the direction we want them to go to just continue doing that. Now, we can't control everything. I realize that, right? We can't control everything at all times. But what we can do is try to optimize, which of course is what today is all about. So how can I optimize in one major way? Time compression, right? You say, I don't have time. I would say this, we don't have time to make the mistakes that somebody else has already made, right? That's what I don't have time for. I don't have time to make the mistakes that somebody else has already made. Now in life, finances, whatever it is, trading, I'm going to make some of my own mistakes no matter what, right? But I don't need to make the mistakes that somebody else has already made. The only issue is, am I learning from the ones who've already made the mistakes? Now, David Mitchell developed our stock trading system, right? His family traded through the generations, right? He learned from his grandfather. He tells this story all the time. He learned from his grandfather, sitting on his knee, listening to him talk to his stockbroker. Okay, that was the start of his journey. Then he learned to trade. He learned to trade options. Weekly options became new. He began to trade options. We're talking 30 plus years of experience. Now, David's come in. Tradeway's been around for a little while. So he's come in and he's taught some other folks, and they've been trading for 10, 12 plus years, right? And then they've taught some folks, and so on and so on. And I fall somewhere in that line. Now, I'm on the newer side of that line. You know, I started as a student about 6 years ago. So what happens is it gets faster and faster and faster. So if we're not learning, right? And this is something I said last week as we were together. You know, we've got a lot of episodes that you can go back. Amazing, just free content that you can go and you can piece together a lot of what we've covered. And it really gives you a robust idea of what the skill set of trading looks like. For those of you out there who know, this is something I want to do. I want to learn to trade. I want to pursue a greater breakthrough. And this is the vehicle for me to do it. Then at some point, we got to get access to the people who have made those mistakes, right? That is a huge thing. That is a huge thing. Sometimes people say, Blair, I don't know if I have time to study. And I say, well, if we want to change the situation we're in, right, then you don't have time to not study, because ultimately, again, we can't control everything. But if we're going to learn a skill set, we've got to put in some time, and not putting in any time is not ultimately getting us where we want to go. And that ultimately slows down where we want to go. We're not even getting there at all. So that's not the best use of our time. What we want to do is I always say, consistency over quantity. I like both consistency and quantity, but if we can even just get some consistency in there, where it starts with 10 to 20 minutes a night, learning from people who help accelerate the journey. Because otherwise you have to learn on your own, and that's not time compression, right? It means you can take what I've learned, I'll shrink it down for you, and you can get from me in 45 minutes what it maybe took me 2-3 weeks, months, or more to learn. Okay? So having that is so important, because what's the fastest way to learn anything, right? What do we do with kids when we want them to learn a second language, right? They go into a second language school, but example, French immersion, right? They are immersed in the language. If you want to learn German, get dropped off in Germany. Now, I'm not going to say that's not going to be challenging or even stressful, but you're going to learn, and you're going to have to learn. So there's something about immersion that really, really fast tracks our learning. And I think controlled immersion is what helps us. So giving yourself the opportunity to be in a community of people who are where you want to go, in this case, of course, trading, is so important. Otherwise, we're just wishing that we would be somewhere, or we're really working to be there with what we have, but it's not maximized, because again, we're not leveraging people who've already gone before us. We want to make sure that we are doing that. So that's our coaching programs. That's being with the other students in the program. That's even being with you guys on here. And like I said, asking lots of questions. That's such a huge part of what we get to do here. I want to pause for a second. Veronica here is saying, where can you find the past recordings? So on YouTube in particular, you can go down. If you go to our YouTube page, Go Tradeway, you can go to the bottom, and under uploads, you'll see everything we've done. Okay. There are some categories for the shows up top, because we do several different shows throughout the week. But if you scroll to the bottom, then everything is cataloged there under uploads. Jeffrey says, I've made these teachings part of my schedule. I've learned so much. And from Blair and the other coaches. So thank you for that, Jeffrey. Hey, we're just glad, and I mean this, we're just glad that you are feeling that way, because that's why we're here. That's why we're here. Ruben says the key to success is consistency. That is such a huge part of it. And certainly that's a huge part of trading success, right? Consistency over time. But we also need to know, well, where do I need to make adjustments, right? How do I make adjustments? So we want consistency, but we want our consistency to be founded on the wisdom that we need so that we're getting the results we want. Okay, that's number two. Number three, this is kind of a little bit different in terms of what you might have expected, but I do think this is something worth touching on just for a moment. You know, somebody challenged me, Blair, everybody's lives are busy, right? Everybody's lives are busy. And I'm not going to make comments on what other people should do with their time. I'm just going to share this story for me, and it can just impact you the way that it impacts you. But they said, Blair, what are the 5 highest priorities, right? I'm going to ask you 2 questions. This is number 1. What are the 5 highest priorities? The 5 highest priorities, okay? Now think about if I wrote a whole list of everything that I do, right? All the things that I commit to, I give time to, I do with the time in my day, because we all have the same time in the day. We don't necessarily all have the same responsibilities and obligations, commitments, etc., but we all actually have the same time. So what are those top 5, right? Those are the most important things to me. How much of my day, how much of my time is going to things that are not in that top 5? Okay, think about that for a second. How much is going to the things that are not in that top 5? And how could I, second question, okay, that was the first. Second question is, if I made a financial impact in my life, okay, if I began to make a significant financial impact, right, how much freedom would that create for me with my 5 things, with my priorities? How much freedom, I like to call it the domino effect, right? If this one area of my life was radically changed, it would most affect all the other areas. Now, that doesn't have to be money for you, but I like to think that way. Let's find what's at the center. If this one thing, now it is finances for a lot of people. It doesn't mean that is the most important thing to them in their heart, but they do know that if I could just impact this one area significantly, it would impact the health and life of so many other areas in my life. And for anybody who thinks maybe I'm putting too high of a value on that, when I go through this in our 5-day faith and finance challenge, which we do have another one coming up this summer, we'll talk more about that at a later time. I specifically talk about the mix of economics, right? Financial well-being to a certain degree, and how that actually affects kids, upbringing, families, marriages, divorce rates. I'm talking about the effects of poverty. Okay, now I'm not necessarily going into poverty tonight, but I am saying that these things can have a tremendous impact on the other areas of our lives. So, number 3 in our list here is, how do I fit this in my busy schedule? Try those 2 tools, right? Try those 2 tools to clarify, what am I doing with the time that I have? Because we may need to just simplify the busy schedule. There may be some things that just don't need to be there, right? And if you sit and you do an inventory of those 5 things, you might find that there are a bunch of other things that you've committed to. Now, they may be worthy, they may be good, right? But they may not be great. And I would even say maybe, and this is between you and the Lord, maybe they're not God. Maybe they're not the top 5, right? We have so many students, and these aren't words that I can put in someone else's mind or head. This was my story. I wasn't on staff with Tradeway. I was a student, right? I prayed and prayed and prayed before I ever got involved with trading to begin with. And so many, if not the majority of our students, have that same testimony, right? They felt like this was a priority. This was something that they wanted to do, something they had to change, something they wanted to change. Now, that may not be the case for you tonight, but I would say 5 things. What are those 5 things for you? Because one way to navigate a busy schedule is to de-busy, if I can put it that way, some of the schedule, right? I find that there are time suckers through my day, if I can say that phrase. They just bleed time, right? They bleed time. And if I could get another 20 minutes, even 20 minutes, 30 minutes out of 5 days a week to spend on trading, now we're starting to get somewhere, right? And keep that persistent, as we heard earlier, right? We saw the comment, persistent and consistent. That could be a game changer. Now, to me, that's encouraging. Hey, Blair, you're telling me that if I had an extra 30 minutes 5 times a week, I could do that? I could be learning to trade? Sure you could. Sure you could, especially if you were using time compression. Especially if you were using time compression, right? And when I think about it that way, I say to myself boldly, I want to get and I'm going to use this word, I want to be brutal, right? Brutal with the things that waste my time, right? Not agreeing with them at all. Social media, that's a great example. That's going to be something that's definitely going to hit home for some of us. Things like that. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Do what I like to call burning the ships, right? Burning the ships. Cut it off. What are you giving up in exchange for that? Is it worth that? Is it in the top 5? Something to think about, because this matters. You know, I was asked in a meeting earlier today, Blair, what would the value of the whole journey you've been on, right? Your trading, the community, my character development as a trader. I mean, there's just so many pieces of the puzzle that come into play inside and out on this trading journey. I was asked, what is this worth to you? You know, and it was very difficult for me to say, well, it would be worth this amount, or it would be worth this amount, because the tremendous amount of growth and blessing that's come out of it is just that. It's tremendous. It's been way more than I ever thought that it would be. And what is that worth? You know, it's certainly not worth things in my day coming to steal my focus that really aren't in my top 5. So I think I've hit that pretty hard. That would be the next one that I would say is so important. And that's something that we don't have absolute control over, but we all have some control over. So the next one I want to say goes back to the specifics of the skill set of trading. Now, understanding, this is number 4. I'm just review here. Tools of the trade, number 1, right? Tools of the trade, automatic orders, example, alarms, scans. Those are a huge help in saving time. Okay. Number 2, time compression, learning from others. I talked about that quite a bit, prioritizing that schedule. Okay. Getting brutal with that. What is in my list and what doesn't need to be there? And how can I partner with God if I need some help with that? How can I partner with others if I need some help with that? And number 4, understanding there are different strategies for different people, and different people in different lifestyles, or even maybe different seasons. You're in one season when you started trading, you're in a different season when you're 5 years, 6 years, 10 years down the road. So we specifically, sometimes I talk about options a little bit, and because the majority of those joining us on this broadcast are looking to begin their journey, they're only thinking about trading stocks, okay? Well, the thing is that understanding that there are different strategies, some that require more active management, meaning you're going to need to access your computer, right? You're going to need to access your brokerage account. Or in some cases, it's much more passive, right? There are trades that we would set you up to do that are actually option strategies that you'll make the max profit, right? Theoretically, you'll make the max profit in a trade if it just runs out of time, right? We haven't gone into options. We are going to do some option stuff later in the summer. We haven't gone into that now, but options have an expiration date on them. And there are certain strategies, right, that people who cannot spend a lot of time around the market, okay, they have access to their account, but they don't expect to be looking at the market a lot, they just can't facilitate that, they may do some of our option strategies where you will actually enter a position, right? You'll get into a trade. And if that contract, that option expires, you just keep all the money in that trade, right? That's a very short answer, right? That's a simple explanation. We haven't gone into what a credit spread is and a debit spread and things like that. Again, we're going to talk about some options more at a later date. But I just want you to know there are certain strategies that are actually more advantageous for people who have more time. At the same time, there are other strategies that we teach, and this is part of the reason why it's so important to understand this, right? Different strategies, because there are some that may fit you better if you don't have a lot of time, okay? You don't have a lot of time. Now, when you come back to the beginning here and you put all of these pieces together, now we're really starting to win this battle, right? We're able to be on the go. We're able to be organized. This is by no means an exhaustive list of what we could do, but I think this is a very strong start on what it is that we can do to help ourselves fit trading into our busy lives. On some level, we always need to decide that we're going to fit something in, right? Like that's true for me. If there's something new coming in, I've already got it full. Okay. So can this new thing come in or not? Well, it can't if I don't make room. Okay. So I'm going to have to make room. But if I'm going to make room, that means something else is going to be diminished. Okay. We talked about that a little. Is the thing coming in valuable enough to diminish something that's already in? Well, it certainly is if we're talking about trading versus spending time on social media. Now, I'm not calling out anybody on social, but I'm calling out me, right? That's a pretty easy one. Now, maybe they're not always so easy, but that's where I go back to where we started tonight. What is this worth to you, right? What would breakthrough in this area mean for you? How about this? What would clarity for you tonight if you came to a belief that not just Blair or somebody else became a trader and could do X, Y, and Z, but you could do this. This could be for your family's legacy, right? This could be for your breakthrough. What is that worth to you? That is what I would stack up against some of the things that are already making the top 5. Now, you may not make any adjustments there, right? You may not, but that's how I would begin to look at that. And I think for a lot of us, there would definitely be some adjustments happening there, okay? And that's, of course, the journey we're all on, right? This is the journey we're all on. I've said it many times the last few weeks when I'm talking to students, and that's because I've experienced this in my own life recently. If we try to do everything, we end up doing nothing. We try to do it all, we end up doing very little, right? Mile wide, inch deep. So we got to get clarity on what's the most important things, and then we got to get some help doing that. Of course, here at Tradeway, that's exactly what we're here to do. We're here to help you. We're here to make this feel like it's a journey, not only that you can do, but you're going to have what you need to do the journey. So I'm going to pop a link in the comments here. Okay. We are doing a free topical workshop. Okay. Free topical workshop. This is what's holding you back. Okay. Common roadblocks to trading. So similar to our session tonight, just taking another step in. What's holding you back? Okay, this is going to be Ross, one of our coaches. I traveled with Ross. If you've never heard him, he's fantastic. He's a doctor. He is an instructor at UT Southwestern Medical Center, and he is a fantastic trader and, of course, just a fantastic teacher. So if you've never heard Ross, I highly recommend you sign up for this webinar. This is May 6th. Okay, this is going to be May 6th at 11 a.m. What's holding you back? Common roadblocks to trading. And of course, Pete Bright, our friend Pete Bright, is going to be on there as well. The link is in the comments on both YouTube, and Facebook right now. So you can go ahead and sign up there and join us. Veronica just signed up. See, Veronica's taken action already, right? Action. I heard somebody say yesterday, I was listening to a podcast. He said, one of the most spiritual things we could possibly do is make a choice. Because in all the different ways that we engage with God, we have to make a choice to do it before we do it. And if we want to make change, I like to say the phrase, choices change. Change your choices, because choices will change. So who needs to go ahead and follow Veronica tonight? Who needs to just go ahead and sign up? Who needs to set an alarm in their phone and say, I'm not just going to sign up, I'm going to be there because there's something in this for me and I'm going to make space, right? That's what we're here to do. Of course, we're here to encourage you to do that. This is a great opportunity. Troy says, so far, spending time each week practicing paper trading with Thinkorswim helps to build confidence in my ability to trade. Practicing does take some time. Absolutely. We will take all of our students through a process of understanding, then applying with no risk, right? Paper trading, and then applying with low risk. And then from there, of course, we're moving into consistent trading. So we definitely are going to move you through a process, but like Troy says, consistently putting in some time. That is what I said, consistency over quantity if we can't do both, but moving towards both if we can. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for being on tonight. This is, as I said, this is our Market Monday. I really enjoy these. I really enjoy the ground we get to cover on these sessions. I hope to be back in our studio before too long, but I am certainly enjoying every single time we get to be on here and be with you guys. We are going to be back on Thursday, of course, with the trading, or excuse me, with our Stock Talk. Tomorrow we have our trading tip Tuesday, and then the word Wednesday as well. So you got Dave and Jeffrey coming at you this week. Those are definitely some really great stuff. I saw that Jeffrey's talking about raising kingdom kids. So we're getting into all kinds of stuff here, showing you a little bit more of who we are at Tradeway. Veronica, I want to address your question there. How do I sign up for Thinkorswim? If you head over to TD Ameritrade's website, okay, you could probably just Google Thinkorswim as well. That'll take you right over. But you'll go ahead and you'll set up an account with TD Ameritrade, and then you can download their Thinkorswim software. You'll use your TD Ameritrade login to get into the software, and then you can begin to use that. Okay, they have plenty of tutorials over there. A lot of our coaches use Thinkorswim. That's something we go over in our program as well. But that's an easy way to do that. You can sign up there. If anybody else has any other questions, of course, like I said at the top of the hour, you can send those on in to us. Thank you guys for being here. If you haven't liked and subscribed, go ahead, do that. Like on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. We'll let you know when we're going live. You won't miss anything that way. And go ahead and send this on over. If somebody you know needs to hear this, go ahead, share the video with them so they can join in this too. And I'd be happy to be in their living room as well and answer any questions that they might have so we can help as many people as possible. All right, guys, thanks so much for being here once again, and we'll see you next time.